any of that stuff is true, Trump is using America to make money.
Okay.
If any of that is true, you're using America to make money.
And that's where I'm at.
Well, but it is true.
I don't know if it's true. What I'm saying is bring some charges against him.
Do you remember the New York Post story that was supposed to be posted that everything was shut down, and then 5 days later they're like, you can put it up, and that one New York Post story that was going viral was blocked all over Twitter? Why? Right before the election. Why? What happened there?
I remember that one.
Of course not. Seriously?
We talked about it on the podcast.
Patrick Bet-David went on the PBD podcast, as well as his guest here, or co-host, I should say, Adam, and they got into a very heated argument here because of some of the things that PBD co-host Adam said about the Hunter Biden situation, the whole laptop stuff, and it's just ridiculous what was coming out of Adam's mouth here. And Patrick Bet-David here had to put him in his place in this position. You know, as a kind of running joke we have and running theme that watches the PBD podcast, people just don't like Adam because he has a lot of bonehead woke takes sometimes. Takes I don't even understand where he's coming up with these things, to be quite honest with you. And this is definitely one of those takes where it's like, if Patrick Bet-David did call him out for the nonsense that he's talking about here, then the fan base would get very angry. But PBD really took it to a new level, and things got really heated between Patrick Bet-David and his co-host here on the PBD podcast. Adam, let's get to this clip here where, from the Value Team YouTube channel and the PBD podcast, where Patrick Bet-David puts his co-host Adam in his place after a ridiculous woke statement. Let's check it out.
Bring some charges against them.
You're not hearing, like, money doesn't funnel like that. Money's funneling through a guy's here, hey, I need a favor from this guy. Can you do this? And I give you the money, and you make the phone call, and that guy, you know, there's...
So let me throw something your way, because obviously I know you tend to agree with Donald Trump on things. When everything was coming out that Donald Trump Jr. was taking these meetings and made these phone calls, and,
it was fake.
And Russia... And
it was fake. It was verified. Russell Brand, a guy on the far left who came out and talked about it last week.
I could care less what Russell Brand has.
Of course, because it doesn't favor your argument.
What was fake exactly?
No, he actually...
The whole dossier was funded by
I'm not talking
Hillary
about
Clinton.
The dossier.
So the what?
But there were meetings with Russia when Trump went out there. Like, you're saying that...
What meetings with Russia?
You're saying that...
But what meetings with Russia?
You're
like,
saying that Russia had zero help with anything with...
Oh, wait. Are you saying that Trump had Russia help him on the election?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying, but Russia did tamper.
Dude, those are two different things, bro. No. You can't say something like that.
But when stories were out, here's my question. When stories were out in the news...
U.S. is involved in all the elections. They tamper. Every country that's powerful tampers and other. But there's a difference to say, help me out, versus a person individually, independently does it. That's not the same thing.
My question to you is, when news was... Because this is news to me. News. Here one day, out the other. When news was out there about... Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump, or divesting of their companies, they're compromised. At that point, 4 years ago, we were like, well, you know, they should look into it. They should.
Oh, no. Let me tell you what I was thinking about it.
What?
My mind went to this. If this is true, it's game over for his entire family's legacy. If any of that stuff is true, Trump is using America to make money.
Okay.
If any of that is true, you're using America to make money.
And that's where I'm at.
Well, but it is true.
I don't know if it's true. What I'm saying is bring some charges against him.
Do you remember the New York Post story that was supposed to be posted that everything was shut down, and then 5 days later they're like, you can put it up, and that one New York Post story that was going viral was blocked all over Twitter? Why? Right before the election. Why? What happened there?
I remember that one.
Of course not. Seriously?
We talked about it on the podcast.
This
you know what I like about you? Let me tell you what I like about you. You know the movie. You know the movie. What's the goldfish movie? What is that one? The Dory. Dory's the one that's got the memory.
Finding Nemo.
Yeah, dude, one of the best qualities of shooters is amnesia. You got it. You're gifted.
The point is,
and you got a good memory.
I want to know what's on the laptop.
Let me just say.
Yeah, it's actually ridiculous, man, to act like you don't remember the fact that Twitter and all these social media platforms, even Google, are censoring that story here, and it's just wild. And this is a bit of an older clip, so since this, we have more hindsight to look at nowadays. But even back then, it was just so obvious what was going on. But now we even have Joe Biden coming out pardoning his own son before he left the White House, as we know. And you don't pardon someone who's in your family who didn't commit any crime. You're not going to pardon that person. If he didn't commit any crimes, then you're not worried about that. And then there's nothing to pardon through. He's going to go through the due process. He's going to get found innocent. But he pardoned him because he knew he was going to be found guilty and prosecuted of everything that he's being accused of. And it's funny. I just don't understand what Adam gains out of this, acting like he doesn't remember the censorship of the story, and all these things surrounding it. And there's a reason it's being censored. Why it's Joe Biden would pardon his own son. There's a reason for all these things. And it's not because he's innocent. It's not because he's given the benefit of the doubt. We need to wait and see more evidence. That's ridiculous, right? I do respect the innocent, improving guilty approach here, but for sure. But when you have this much evidence, man, it's like that much evidence. Do we really have to pretend like we're doing the innocent until proven guilty thing? We don't have to pretend anymore. There's just so much overwhelming evidence. We can just go ahead and accept the fact that he did do these things, right? Hunter Biden is guilty. We can just accept that now. Let's check it out.
You know how many times I wake up and even think about Hunter Biden? Zero.
Why not?
And most people don't, because there's so many other things that's going on in life that I got to think about Hunter Biden.
Why not?
If he's doing some illegal shit, bring some charges against him.
Would you have the
But
same...
you want me to run down every rabbit hole because you mentioned Hunter Biden's name? It's annoying.
Okay, what about the laptop? What are your thoughts on that?
Tell me what's on the laptop. I don't know about the laptop. Show me something that's on the laptop. What do you do on the laptop? All I've heard for the last year is Hunter Biden, Hunter Biden, Hunter Biden. What did he do?
Well,
bring some charges.
They're trying to get the media. They're trying to get the media to cover these stories so that you can be aware of it.
I hate this.
And it's being
They're
suppressed.
trying to get the media as if the right doesn't have media. Newsmax isn't out there. Fox Business doesn't. We just covered the first story that Fox News gets more viewers than anyone else.
Yeah.
The media. Fox News is the media.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So it comes
So
out.
tell your friends at Fox News to start covering the story then.
So 2.5 million people a night know exactly what we're talking about. It's the other 3 million that are living in an opposite reality that we're trying to convince that these things that are facts are facts.
Well,
right? So just
because Hannity says it, it's not a fact.
No,
buddy.
I'm not a Hannity guy.
Yeah, you are.
I'm not a Hannity guy.
I'm going to paint you as one.
Hey, did you ever read a...
That's actually so crazy that Adam's acting like this. I get what he's saying. Fox News has the most viewership out of all the mainstream media nowadays. But what does it have to do with the social media censorship of this story and the social media censorship of right-wingers for the longest time? I think it's getting better now. We're certainly on a better path. Less censorship. I don't know why exactly that is. Is it because Trump's in office? Is it because they just see the market's turning more towards right-wing ideology? And as soon as the market flips against that, it'll go right back to the censorship or more towards CNN. I don't know. But there's no doubt that there has been over the last, 2017 through 2020, maybe like 2023, we're being honest here, when the tide really started turning, people started to get fed up with the woke nonsense. There was a lot of right-wing censorship all over social media. They wanted to put us down. And no doubt about it, I'm not the biggest fan of the guy, and you might not be either, but regardless how you feel about him, Elon Musk buying Twitter was a huge turning point in this, in this war, if you will. And the other social media companies out there, they felt threatened, they felt pressured to start doing the same thing that Elon Musk is doing, or else they're going to just lose all the viewers, all the news outlets, the users that Elon Musk is attracting by not censoring certain sides, by just letting the free market be the free market. If he's just the only one doing it, well, then everybody's just going to flock to his website, right? They're going to lose all the right-wingers. They're going to lose all the people who aren't woke and who aren't fed up with the woke nonsense, right? And they were all just pressured by Elon Musk buying Twitter into at least loosening up on the restrictions. And it's gotten a whole lot better since then. It's ridiculous to pretend as if there's not massive right-wing censorship. I know Patrick Bet-David himself has also spoken about the censorship that he's seen on certain platforms where, his live stream viewership just dropped off the face of the earth randomly throughout his show whenever he's talking about certain things. And to be a co-host on Patrick Bet-David's podcast and try to say that you don't see censorship, that's crazy. And I know for a fact Patrick Bet-David himself has complained about censorship on certain platforms. So that's just, why is he acting like this? This is why people don't like Adam. This is why people don't respect Adam for his opinions on the PBD podcast, because he acts like this.
His book, Stealth War? Did you ever read that?
No.
There's a few parts in there that I think you would be very interested in. And it's pertaining to the relationship that Hunter Biden actually has.
Okay.
I definitely think...
FYI, it's not just the left. It's both of them. McConnell's also on the right.
McConnell,
He's got connections to China.
Absolutely.
So
His wife is Chinese.
This is more the establishment.
But my point is this:
Yeah.
even when we talked about what's her name, Elizabeth Wu,
Yeah.
is that her name? Did I just make that up? Elizabeth? What's McConnell's wife's name? Even when they've told stories about her, it doesn't nothing for me. And I'm not a McConnell fan, but I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole of like, well, yep, McConnell's compromised. There it is.
Yeah, but
the figurehead of the GOP for the last 30 years compromised.
That concerns me.
It should concern you.
Yeah, that
but
concerns
unless
me.
they've proven that he's done something illegal, it's just a story in the news.
Did the General Milley stuff bother you at all, or no?
Let me
Did
ask
it
you a
bother
question.
me?
When's the last time? A serious question though. When's the last time you saw? Like, you remember the scene where the day Giuliani took down like 245, mobsters got arrested, or Joe Pistone, and you saw all of them handcuffed walking out. When's the last time you saw that happening to congressmen and senators? Like, when's the last time you saw? Has that ever happened?
I would be okay.
By the way, has that ever happened?
In my
Do you know?
No, because they all get special treatment. They get preferential treatment, obviously. And it's, I know it's a point that Patrick Bet-David's trying to make here, but it just goes to further prove the point against Adam, that it's not just the actual politicians and the people who work for the government that get this special treatment. It's also their family members, and that's very obvious. And you could say whatever you want about Donald Trump, but he never pardoned one of his family members for committing a crime, because guess what? His family doesn't commit crimes, right? And if they do, it's, he evaded taxes or some business malpractice. Like, who cares about tax evasion nowadays, man? The taxes are going to go into bloodshed in Ukraine and the Middle East. So who really cares about this? It's kind of base, if you ask me, to evade a little bit of taxes, get a little more money in your pocket, work the system. But say whatever you want about Donald Trump, but he never pardoned his son, straight up, for committing genuine crimes and possibly treason against the country. And it's just crazy. You have to rationalize this. It's just insane. It's like a Game of Thrones type story. The president of the United States' son basically committed treason, allegedly air quotes here, against the country that his dad is the leader of, the chief and commander, and then his dad turns around and pardons him for committing treason against the country that he is supposed to be running. It's a wild story. Allegedly, just so we're clear. But look, if you enjoy content like this, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm really curious to hear what you all think about this video, and PBD, Patrick Bet-David with his woke co-host, Adam. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.